Hey everyone, welcome to the GC360 podcast. I'm your host, Erica Becker. And on this show, we have some of the most interesting people and business owners in the area. And today I have a very, very special guest. His name is Theodore Gallucci, and he is a chef, and he's also the founder of Long Island Meal Prep, which I cannot wait to talk about. It's super, super cool. So without further ado, Theodore, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you in person.
Yes, it's super exciting. We met on Instagram, so that's so cool. Yep, through food and podcast, two of my favorite things. So
Mine as well.
Yeah, it's great. So there's so much that I want to ask you. I'm going to try to start from the beginning, though, best I can. You are a chef. When did you start cooking, or when did you find your love of food and cooking?
I found my love for cooking at the age of 16, but growing up Italian, you're born in the kitchen,
Yeah.
You're raised in the kitchen, so you grew up around food. I was used to it, but at 16, I started to take cooking seriously, and it was a really fun outlet to be creative, to try new things, and most importantly, to feed myself. Mm-hmm. So that was the start of it, and I just fell in love with it. I went on YouTube, I watched every video you could imagine,
Yeah.
and my first jobs, all my money went to food.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really my passion in my life right now.
Yeah, and you grew up, remind me where you grew up.
So I was born and raised in West Hempstead. I went to school here in Garden City, and we had a great time there. From growing up in Garden City, I went to high school in Queens. Then I took a year off after graduating. Mm-hmm. I went to Farmingdale State College for 2 years, and immediately I knew it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. I made the very difficult decision at the time to drop out.
What a rebel.
It was, right?
Yeah.
And I dropped out thinking that food wasn't going to be my purpose or my passion in life. I wanted to create a janitorial supply company, which sounds crazy, but there's a backstory behind it.
Okay.
And essentially, to make a long story short, to fund that business idea, cooking was the route for that. So in my mind, I was going to do about 6 months worth of cooking, get the money I needed for it, and stop. But life's a little bit different.
That did not happen.
It did not happen. So 6 years later, here we are with a official business,
Yeah.
a thriving business, and the community loves us. We love the community, and it's been really rewarding.
I love that. I love being all about the community, and food is such a way to bring people together.
Yes.
I mean, huge way, like dinners, what do people come around? What are we going to eat? Where are we going to go eat? That's a huge thing. So whenever you were younger and like you said, you were watching the cooking YouTube videos and cooking all the time, were you cooking for your family? Did you cook for them too? Or were they cooking on their own?
That's a great question. Well, my father didn't really know how to cook that well.
Okay.
So he didn't really cook. My mom loved cooking. It was her passion, but she was busy working. So at 16, they were really busy. I needed to start cooking for myself to start off. And then as I got older, I started cooking for the family when I knew I had the skill to do so, not wasting money on food or giving them something that would make them sick. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's so important. Food waste, I try my best to really eliminate that as much as possible. So what would you say whenever you were learning to cook? What were you making? A lot of pasta? I mean, you're Italian, so I can't help but assume you're making some pasta over there.
Of course, pasta's easy. I actually started off with eggs because I was so young and I was so broke. That's all I could really afford. So if I was going to mess up some eggs, it's cheap enough to fix, right? And it's quick.
Well, it's not true anymore, is it?
It's not true anymore. It's very expensive. But at the time, eggs were something that you could really master. Mm-hmm. So once I mastered the eggs, I would move on to something else, a bit more expensive, like chicken, get that done, beef, eventually go into fish, things like that.
Cool. That's great. You just were building up your skills slowly. So cool. So whenever you dropped out of school, you were like, school's not for me.
Right.
No. How did your family feel about that?
It was a really weird conversation with my father was an entrepreneur growing up, and he had some failed businesses, so that left a really bad taste in my family's mouth. Mm-hmm. And then when I sat them down at the kitchen table to talk to them,
as you gather,
right? Gather around the kitchen table. It wasn't me discussing it with them. I was more of telling them, saying, "Hey, we may not understand. This is my decision. This is what I want to do." And they had some what you could imagine reactions to that.
Sure.
But it wasn't. I wasn't trying to gain their acceptance for it. I wanted to just go about what I wanted to do. Most importantly, get results. So over time, I got the results, and it's at a place now where they're fully believing in the mission that we have going on.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I definitely want to come back to that turning point when you started the cooking. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
My father never stops moving, but after he had a brain aneurysm, he had a difficult time getting back to his normal routine. That's when I called Alliance Services. They paired him with Rosa. She developed a custom home care plan that helped him with his recovery.
Rosa helped me gain my independence back.
Alliance Services, helping older adults continue to live well and independent.
Hey everyone, Erica here, your host of the GC360 podcast. Welcome back. For those of you who are just joining us, I am here with Theodore Gallucci, who is a chef and the founder of Long Island Meal Prep. And so, Theodore, you were just telling me about dropping out 2 years into school, explaining to your family at the kitchen, that Italian kitchen table, what you're going to do. Then what happened?
So I asked my family for the last 2 years worth of tuition as an investment in the business. I'm pitching this idea, the money, right? You get a return.
True entrepreneur.
True entrepreneur. And of course, they said no. Right, gotta figure this out. So through a friend, I got a job in a chiropractor's office. I had a glass ceiling there. And through another friend, I got into the finance industry. So I learned a lot about sales and psychology, and I kept in mind I need to save money for this business I want to pursue. I had money saved, and I put all my money into it. So I bought products from China, I had it imported over here, patents, all that fun stuff, and I put all my skin in the game. My bank account went from thousands of dollars to zero, so it was all in. And I ended up not pursuing it anymore.
This is the janitor.
Yes, janitorial supply company. I had an amazing idea through a business class I took in college. It just didn't work though. I didn't see the vision in it. So from there, over a lot of time, and eventually we get to 2020.
Yeah.
And my business partner and I finally had the time and resources to really plan out the business, how we want to present it, find kitchens, and get everything we needed to make it official, and that's exactly what we did. And we started our first cook October 31st of 2020, so that was 6 months after March 13th.
Yeah. Pretty soon. And we still were very much not knowing what was going on.
No idea. It's crazy.
Yeah. So you decided to pursue the food because while you had mentioned before, while you were working on that janitorial supply company, you were cooking as a means for income. Where were you cooking at? Were you working at a restaurant, or did you cook out of your house?
It was small for friends and family. I didn't have strangers, people like yourselves, trying to buy the meals. So just, friends and family. Hey, I'm working out. I want to lose some weight. Can you make like 5 meals a weekend? Something very small like that. Wasn't what it is now. When we officially started, we were using ghost kitchens and permits for all that stuff. So everything was done the right way with that. But it's very small. You start in your house, and you build the demand from there. You build your skills from there. And if you're good enough, the market will take you.
Yeah. So in 2020, you made it official.
We made it official.
And is that when, now you have a kitchen now.
Yes.
You're not just doing ghost kitchens anymore. When did you get that kitchen?
We secured this kitchen over a year ago.
Okay.
And then we outgrew it, let's say sometime this past year. Which is a great problem to have.
It is.
Yeah.
You're going shopping later, right?
We are. We're going kitchen shopping later.
That's a fun day, podcast and kitchen shopping.
Yes.
So now I want to talk a little bit more about then the actual meal prep company itself.
Sure.
I checked out the website. You have so many different meals and meal plans that are paleo, keto, vegetarian. Like you can really do everything. So what kind of inspired you to make it so diverse in that way?
My friends who I was cooking for in the beginning were immigrants. So I made food from their home countries, which was really fun to make because new cuisines, new ingredients, things like that. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to plan out the business. I didn't know if I wanted to do dinner parties on a weekend and charge people like $100 per plate, or have a food truck. I ended up meeting my business partner through my ex-girlfriend, and he kind of brought the streamline to the idea that we had. So said, hey, we can have this something a little bit more structured. From there, we grew the menu based on the equipment that we currently have in the kitchen, and to do it from there. So right now we have around 150 items that we do very well at this tiny kitchen we're in. And God willing, we're going to say bigger kitchen. It's only going to get bigger from there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you do all different types of cuisines through the meal prep company. And people can pick their meals, right? Like they can kind of create their own meal. I saw that that's a thing on there.
It is. We have entrees, breakfast, lunch. You can also have a custom meal creator. So if you like a certain type of protein and you want to pair with different size and pick the weight, that's an option for you.
That's great. So what do you think the value is for people to use a meal prep company? What do you think is like the ideal kind of customer, or what do you feel like the value is that you give for people?
Our clients are very different. We don't have one set group of clients. We have obviously the healthy people that want to eat healthy, lose weight, or gain weight. We have the folks who are ordering food for their parents who may not have the time or resources to actually go out, shop for food, cook for food, clean up, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So we do everything from that to the elderly people to people who come back from the city, don't have time, just want to feed their families, and have a healthier alternative to things that you would typically get from like takeout.
And there are some people who just like don't like cooking,
Absolutely.
which I don't understand. You probably don't.
I can't blame it. Is, you get some marks and stuff and the cleaning, but we do very well, and we have a very religious following, which I'm very grateful for.
That's great. You're obviously growing, so that's awesome. So what do you think your favorite thing is about being in the kitchen?
It's weird. Being in the kitchen, you want to get the job done as effectively as possible and as quickly as possible. The passion isn't really there like you would imagine, like watching a movie or a show where the guy's like really into it.
Like Ratatouille?
Yes, that's right. It's very stressful. It's controlled chaos. So you're managing all of that. And worst case scenario, if I mess up, someone can die. So there's a lot of responsibility. The passion comes in when I'm cooking at home. I'm trying new recipes. That's the fun part. But when I'm actually in the kitchen cooking for all of our amazing clients, it's productivity. There's no emotion involved. There's no passion. Obviously, you have to love what you do. But in that moment, for the 8 to 10 hours that you're there, is to get the job done.
Definitely. But when you're at home,
Different story.
You make it.
Get the music playing.
What's your process at home when you're cooking for fun for you?
It's more of a feeling. So it's what comes to me. It depends maybe on the season, what produce is available, what the needs are with the business. If we need a new protein or a different type of meal coming out, I'll work backwards and kind of see the finished product and deconstruct it from there. But, when I'm home cooking, trying new things, more often than not, I'm failing. And then the final product that you see on the website is, after 10 to 12 attempts.
Definitely.
So trying to make it perfect. You have to be willing to fail, say, hey, this isn't as good as it could be.
Yeah, definitely. And so, like, you put music on when you're at home.
It's the feeling. You got to get in the vibes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I like to it's fun for me, too, when I do it at home. And so I'm thinking about this now. Did you take any cooking classes or anything? You just self-taught?
Shop out.
You self-taught?
Self-taught off of YouTube, which is crazy
for free. You are self-taught, and you have this thriving business. That's wild.
It's crazy. I never, my friend asked me to cook for her for one weekend. She saw the meals I was bringing to work. She said, wow, these look amazing. I'm sure they taste great. Cook for me for one weekend. And then she hit me with the $1 million question. What's for next week? I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing something different, so they never got the same meal twice. Kind of grow your skill set. It's just, you can really learn a lot of skills if you're dedicated to it.
Definitely. It's a lot of trial and error, like you said. I watch a lot of cooking shows, and I think that I'm a good cook, and then I watch those shows, and I'm like, oh, geez. They know all about balancing flavor. Like, I've obviously gotten better at it, but people know so much. Do you ever watch any of those shows?
Absolutely. It's nice to watch other people cook.
Yeah.
Right, and you get to see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. It's fun to play Gordon Ramsay sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I love food. I love the sounds of cooking. I love the pots and pans banging together. I love watching people create things and the stress and the chaos of everything.
Yeah, it's super fun. Gosh, I have so many questions. What do you think? Okay, probably it depends on the season, like what you're cooking. I know that my cooking changes throughout the seasons, right? Do you have like an overall favorite dish that you yourself like to make and eat? Is there like one or a couple of favorites? You can pick maybe a couple, because I know that's hard.
So for chefs, that's a really tough question because we make so much.
Yeah.
And we don't really have a few things pinpointed. Obviously, Italian food is probably what I do best because it's in my blood.
Yeah.
It's my ancestors speak to me, and I'm sure as you know about that. Foods I'm making right now that I really like, we just brought on fish onto the menu, so that's something completely different,
Great.
something changing up the pace a little bit. I love working with chicken. It's a really bland protein, and if you can make it pop out, then you're doing something right.
Yeah. You
know?
can do so many different things too.
Absolutely.
So you've made your own pasta?
I haven't made my own pasta. I buy that pre-made, of course, but if you can make your own, it's always better.
Yeah, I've never tried to, but I just think it's pretty cool to watch people do it. Yeah, so what kind of, okay, if somebody wants to start their own business, maybe it's not a meal prep company, but maybe it's something else that they're passionate about doing. Do you have any advice that you wish someone would have told you when you were starting all of this?
It's that simple. It's really simple.
Really?
Don't overthink it. The biggest thing you need to do is just get started, right? And everything else you'll figure out later. If whether it's food business, you're doing some kind of e-commerce, it's proof of concept. So you're an actor and you want to go book some gigs like that. Have the proof, then from there build out. Don't just start a business and get everything going and like, oh my gosh, I invested all this money, it's not working. Well, proof of concept first.
Yeah.
Dedication and everything else comes from that, but get started.
Get started. Cool. Very cool. And I know you're planning on expanding your kitchen soon. So how many people do you have working with you right now?
I have a small team. I have we just brought on a sous chef pretty recently, and we have some preppers, help us stay organized. We have some drivers, so it's a very, very small operation right now.
So will you be bringing on some new people soon? You
I
think?
hope so.
Yeah?
I'd love to get some extra hands in the kitchen.
Cool.
And teach people and give them a platform to be creative and express themselves and see how the clients like it.
So if you were to see, even, I know that your vision is coming to life, but if you were to look out into the future, what kind of big goal or vision do you see for you and Long Island Meal Prep or your cooking career?
For Long Island Meal Prep, I want to have a place where people look forward to going to work. There's a system in place that, because the restaurant industry is very grueling,
Yes.
I don't want that in my business. So our business would set up a little bit differently, being that everything's prepared in advance, the orders are coming through online. You don't have to be there on a Friday night to like 1 o'clock in the morning, which is
Right.
fantastic. So
Yeah.
create an environment where people want to show up to work, have a platform and a system that encourages our people to be creative, to work hard, things like that. I want the brand to be well known throughout the whole entire island.
Yeah.
So when people think of food in New York, they think of Long Island Meal Prep.
Awesome.
Aside from everything else we have here.
Yeah. Well, we're working on that right now, aren't we? Do you think you would ever open your own restaurant?
I never thought I would do this. I had no idea what I wanted to do growing up. I always wanted to be a business owner and make a ton of money and all that fun stuff, but I never thought I would be in the position I'm in right now, how far we've come, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that we helped throughout the pandemic, and even now.
That's great.
Having strangers reach out to us and saying, hey, we want to be part of your team.
That's so great.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's really the validation and the proof of concept, is when you get strangers reaching out to you, buying your things, or reaching out and saying, hey, I want to work for you.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, your family should support you, but you can't grow a business based on selling, a product to family members or friends.
No.
You need strangers.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're true. You're very right about that. Awesome. Well, Theodore, Ted, I am so glad that I could talk to you so much longer about food because I love it too. But I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all of that history and advice you have and your interesting story of how you got here. It's so cool. If people want to get a hold of you, either for meal prep services or if they have a question about career or anything, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. You can find my personal Instagram at Ted Gallucci. You can find the business Instagram at Long Island Meal Prep. And you can check out our amazing menu online at www.limealprep.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So anyone, if you need meal prep to be healthy, to save time, definitely check out Long Island Meal Prep. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a great episode, another great episode of the GC360 podcast. This episode was sponsored by Alliance Services. And thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.
My father never stops moving, but after he had a brain aneurysm, he had a difficult time getting back to his normal routine. That's when I called Alliance Services. They paired him with Rosa. She developed a custom home care plan that helped him with his recovery.
Rosa helped me gain my independence back.
Alliance Services, helping older adults continue to live well and independent.